Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the MKUltra show. I, of course, am your host, Carter M. Nelson. It's beautiful, July 7th. Big news day. I have an excellent show for you guys tonight. Massive geopolitical stuff happening in the Middle East. Along with that, we have more news involving Islam with Sneako's generational fall off. So it is going to be an absolutely excellent show. Not going to hold you too long. We're going to go ahead and get right into this. And I'm going to start with the major news, which our headliner is the Iran war. What's new? Nobody's surprised. The MOU is completely cooked at this point. I talked about this about a week ago now with the US and Iran trading strikes against one another, but the MOU was still somewhat intact. Not strongly, but it was still holding on by the thread of its hair. But it's it's absolutely cooked now. Give you guys a little bit of background information of what happened. Iran went ahead and Iran did a strike against multiple different commercial vessels. There were three commercial vessels that were hit by Iranian strikes throughout the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the United States decided to retaliate towards this. The U.S. Central Command announced that we are actively striking Iran. And this strike isn't just a minor retaliatory strike like it was last time. No, this is a full-fledged strike. It will be the biggest strike after its conclusion since the creation and signing of the MOU. So, really big deal with that. Again, absolutely nobody is surprised that this is what is going on. Peace was never a legitimate outcome from the MOU. I mean, it was pushed. The United States certainly wants it, but they also can't look weak. Iran, they know it's just a waiting game. They're playing the waiting game, and they're playing it damn well, playing it incredibly. And Israel cannot, by any means, end this conflict. So that's the situation we're in. We're back to the forever war days. Donald Trump ran and got elected under the promise of no more forever wars. But despite this, here we are, back in another one. Another war in the Middle East. Back to the sand. Back to the sand we venture. It always seems like we come back here. It always seems that somehow, some way, we magically end up back in the Middle East. And why is this? Why do we end up back in the Middle East? Well, it's Israel. It's always been Israel. Israel's interest is to continue the war. Israel's goal, since its creation, has to be the powerhouse of the Middle East, to expand, to create a greater Israeli territory, to extend the influence of Zionism. That is their goal. And they're using the United States incredibly to carry out this goal. It's the reason we were in the Middle East back in the early 2000s. It's the reason we're there now. Nothing ever changes. Nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens. It's been said. Look at the time. Look at the time. It's nothing o'clock. What's new? What's new? Nothing ever happens. So yeah. Yeah, that's the beautiful situation we've gotten ourselves into. We are gearing up for a legitimate conflict with Iran again. The hard thing with a ceasefire is it's really difficult to uphold a ceasefire when both sides are constantly bombing each other. I mean, when the MOU, there's a couple of things that Iran is complaining about. Lebanon is one, Israel and Lebanon. So, what's going on over there is Iran wants Israel to stop striking Lebanon, right? They want Israel to completely pull out. And they have Hezbollah over there to attempt to guard the Lebanese border and to put pressure onto Israel. Israel's not going to back down. Netanyahu's entire thing is that he's strong, that he can protect the Israeli people and protect the Israeli interests. Losing a war to Hezbollah, a militant group out of Lebanon, it completely destroys everything that he stands for. It takes away from what he is attempting to represent. So he really can't back out, but that was a major focus of the MOU. Was Iran wanted Israel to pull out of the Lebanese southern territories, but Israel is not going to do this. The Israeli view, and it's important that you can understand the motivations of each side of the conflict, right? We can't look at Israel and just be like they're evil and want to kill everybody because that's not a real motive. This doesn't make Israel any better, though, because they are willing to kill everybody to achieve their goals. That's how Israel functions. Everybody else is not human. They are all subhuman. So by killing them to achieve their people's goals, from their own perspective, it is moral because the Israeli people are human and the aggressors and the people who threaten Israeli interests are not human. So they have absolutely no issue with killing civilians, with, oh, I don't know, specifically sniping babies while they're being held by their mothers, because those are future terrorists. There is no moral issue with killing those who you don't view as people. So that's the Israeli view. But what their actual motive is again, it's protecting Israeli interests, protecting Israeli people. And the way that they view that as possible is by expanding their borders to ensure that their population masses in central Israel are not threatened. So this includes pushing into southern Lebanon and holding onto that territory, creating a buffer zone. And this is what's been said. That's what's coming out of their State Department. The clear and concise goal of this conflict for Israel is to create a border territory between Israel and Lebanon by conquering southern Lebanon and holding on to that and having that under Israeli jurisdiction. That's their way of protecting their people from Hezbollah threat. So they have no legitimate interest in backing out. They've conquered southern Lebanon. They just are still in the pushback phase. They're still trying to hold on to that territory from constant threat. And we see that they're not going to back out. Just yesterday, a Israeli strike killed four people that were in a car driving towards the Israeli-Lebanese border. They were, I believe, Lebanese citizens, and they're driving towards the this border zone that they've established. And a drone strike killed them. Now, these people, based off of current reports we have, they were not threats. It was like a school teacher, and I believe her family. That was who they killed. So they used a drone strike to kill four Lebanese people in a car and just instantly eviscerated them. So it's very, very clear that that part of the MOU, it's never going to happen. Israel is not going to back down because if they back down, they lose. And if they lose, Netanyahu loses the election that he has coming up. So he really doesn't have any choice but to continue this war and continue racking up casualties. I mean, it looks good for their State Department when they can go out and tell the Israeli people, look at all these casualties we've inflicted on these terrorists. While in all reality, half of these terrorists are just the civilian populace of Lebanon. It's the same thing they did in Gaza. The exact same thing. They kill people, but they claim it's terrorists. And that's just the moral construct of the Israeli state. That's why they have no issue doing all these clearly immoral things, because in their minds it would be immoral to not kill these terrorists. So that part of the MOU is never ever going to happen. Iran wants control over the strait. It is they have major economic incentive to control that strait. I believe it's 1/5 of the world's oil comes out of Iran through that strait. So they want economic control over it. They want to be able to put taxes on people moving through it. That's their goal. That's all they want. Like, sure, there's this push of nuclearization, and Iran certainly has an interest in a nuclear program, and their clear incentive on why they want a nuclear program is their greatest foe in the region is Israel, a nuclear power. So, Iran wants to balance the power of the region. That's a major cause of conflicts throughout history. We look at World War II, and The main reason that it becomes a world war is because the balance of power went out of whack with the new fascist government of Germany and the communist government of the USSR. They managed to make those two countries into military powerhouses through their totalitarian regimes, which results in a global scale conflict. Same thing in the Middle East. It's all a game of balance of power. It's the same reason Lebanon, well, actually, even if they could, likely wouldn't do anything about Hezbollah. Hezbollah helps keep the balance of power between Israel and Lebanon because the Lebanese military, they couldn't stand up to Israel. They'd have no chance. So it is in their interest to keep this Iranian militia force together and in their state to hold a balance of power. It's Iran's interest to nuclearize to hold a balance of power with Israel. So there's your major incentives. They want economic control of the strait, and they don't want ships passing through that haven't been verified and taxed by Iran. They want to make sure everybody's getting permission, proper permission to pass through the strait, and they have an interest of nuclearization. Now, what are the United States' interests? Because we can say that it's entirely for Israel, and it certainly partially is. I mean, Pete Hegseth is currently, and it's been announced that he's going to be going down to Israel to meet Netanyahu, planning, essentially. They're going to put together ideas and decide the future of this conflict together. So Israeli interests are definitely involved. Now, what is the other interest of the United States? What do we actually have to gain out of it outside of Israel? Well, it's the denuclearization of Iran. That's our biggest incentive. And we also have an incentive to ensure that Oman has some control over the strait, to ensure that we can have trade routes through the Oman, the way I'm gonna map it out for you real quick. The Strait of Hormuz, it lays between in the Middle East, lays between Iran and Oman, right? There's a strait passing through right between those two countries. Now, the major trade routes are on the Iran's half of that waterway. Now, the United States has an interest of Oman owning a portion of that waterway because Oman is a U.S. ally. So there you go. There's the United States interests. Give Oman power over the strait while simultaneously denuclearizing Iran. Completely get rid of that as a potential threat in the future. And why do we want to denuclearize? I know I'm mispronouncing that. But why do we want to denuclearize Iran? Well, they are a major ally of Russia and China, major supplier of oil in both those nations. So we have a vested interest in keeping their power level as low as possible to give them less global influence in the future to make sure that the balance of power again stays leaning towards the Western world, NATO. So headed by the United States, backed by Europe, Canada, Mexico, the Pacific nations. So there's your interest of the United States. Now, with this MOU, it was an attempt to compromise in these regions. The goal was that I eventually come to an agreement of a militaristic denuclearization of Iran. So all nuclear capabilities would entirely be civilian purpose, and it would be actually watched over by the Western world. The On the Strait matter, it was said that they would open the strait back up to ensure that trade could actually get through because the United States has put themselves into an oil crisis. Like I mentioned in my previous video where I spoke about this conflict, the United States oil reserves are running dangerously low, the lowest since the Reagan administration, an administration which was filling these reserves up. So this is the lowest they've been since we were actually filling them. So yeah, dangerous situation for the US economy. We need the strait open back up, and that's what this MOU promised. And then we would discuss the economic matters over time. However, Iran, despite opening it, they still wanted to give clearance. They wanted to give clearance of ships who could and could not pass through transporting oil. Ships that didn't get clearance, well, what happens? They got bombed. And this is what we've had. This is what happened the last time we saw strikes following the MOU, and that's what happened today. 3 commercial vessels go through, didn't get the proper clearance according to Iran, and they got hit. Now, the United States is saying that Iran has no actual authority to do this. So the United States hits them back. And this is a statement that was given out by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs uh, from Iran. So, I'm going to read this off to you. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iran strongly condemns the U.S. Treasury's move to lift the temporary suspension of the embargo on Iranian oil sales, which is a gross violation of Article 10 of the Memorandum of Understanding to End the War, dated 18th of June 1405, and holds the U.S. government responsible for the consequences of this breach of promise. Less than 20 days after signing the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding, the announcement of the revocation of the general authorization issued on June 21st is another sign of the ill intentions, instability, and unreliability of the U.S. ruling body. This is despite the fact that over the past 20 days, the U.S. has repeatedly committed minor and major violations of the various articles of the Memorandum of Understanding, either directly through the actions either or directly through the actions of the Zionist regime against Lebanon. Since the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding on June 18th, the Islamic Republic of Iran has tried in good faith and using all its capabilities to fulfill its obligations in accordance with the Memorandum of Understanding. However, the U.S. government, as usual, has simultaneously violated its obligations and sought to justify them with various excuses. And again, this is from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iran, while warning of the consequences of America's breach of the agreement will take any action it deems necessary to protect its interest and national security. So, it's pretty much the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Iran saying, well, here's the situation. The U.S. isn't following the MOU, and for that reason, we cannot assume that anything in the MOU is legitimate, making the MOU completely invalid. So, major major consequences of the future of this war are being held through that. So, yeah. Yeah, not good stuff for those who have an interest of, getting out of the forever wars. For those who voted Donald Trump in on his promise of no new wars, that us going into Iraq was a mistake. That was a major part of his original campaign in 2016. That we should not have been in the Middle East. That's something that got him voted in. And fast forward, what has it been? 10 years? 10 years? Everything seems to have fallen apart. Donald Trump has proven to be incompetent and proven to be a liar. And that's the unfortunate part of politics, right? You vote somebody in, he makes these promises, you believe maybe he's our guy, and then he slaps you around a little bit like you're a dirty fucking whore. And it's like, damn, man, show some respect to us. Like, holy shit. But yeah, yeah, that's the situation we're in. And I read it off there. I did forget to mention another major part of this MOU falling apart was that the US revoked its license for Iran to sell oil. Very major. Very major. Oil is the lifeline of the Iranian economy. A big reason why they were interested in the MOU was the ability to sell oil. But the US has revoked their license on that, which means they can't sell. They'll still be able to sell to nations that are not in accordance with US authority, with the US goals. So, Russia, China, those nations, there'll still be capabilities. They'll still be making money off of our oil, don't get me wrong here. But they're no longer able to. They no longer have a license to sell it from the a license from the United States to sell it. So that just gives Iran really no reason to follow this memorandum anymore. And that's exactly what we heard from their Ministry of Foreign Affairs there. They no longer have any vested interest in holding on and holding off on attacks. No, no, this war is only ramping up from here. There is still talks that both parties will still in good faith attempt to find peace. It's not looking good. It's really not looking good, and it's very, very likely at this point that the ceasefire falls apart. Because how can you hold on to a ceasefire when you have two parties who are relentlessly striking each other? It just doesn't make sense. It goes against exactly what we understand a ceasefire to be, and it's exactly what both nations understand a ceasefire to be. So there doesn't seem to be any legitimate vested interest in ending the war. So we'll see how long this carries on. If Iran can keep holding off, they'll likely come out of this with everything they desire. Is the United States will eventually need the oil coming through that strait once again. Again, we are running low on reserves. It's a dangerous situation, and our economy will continue to be pushed out of whack based off of the continuing increase of oil prices, which increased again today after the United States announced that they were revoking the license of Iran to sell oil. And the thing with the economy, everything it runs conjunctive to each other. So oil prices are rising, it drives up the price of energy, which drives up the price to produce goods, which drives up the price of those goods, which drives up the price to create other things. So not only does this increase oil prices, but it's going to increase the prices of essentially everything. And that's something the American people don't support. And because we are a democratic system with elections coming up, it is very, very important to this administration to figure out a way to bring down the economy or get it back up to speed, essentially, to bring the economy to a better place for the American people, because that's really the major decider in many, many elections. So it is incredibly crucial for the United States to figure out a way to keep the economy running smoothly. And how do they do that? Well, they need to get oil through that strait. Again, a fifth of the world's oil. Fifth of the world's oil supply is coming through there and it's getting blocked off, blockaded. So, yeah, we'll see how long the United States is interested in continuing this conflict and continuing to attempt to reach their interests. But there's going to come a time where a decision has to be made of either a legitimate invasion of Iran, which would be so unpopular that I find it hard to believe that we could actually get to that point, or they're going to have to back off and give Iran what they want to get that strait completely open back up. So that's the situation we are in there. And other Islamic related news, we have Sneako, who is on a generational downfall. It's sad to see. It's sad to see. Actually, I'd say it's sad to see, but the guy's a snake, and he's a dumb, dumb snake at that. And seemingly a homosexual snake. So that's the type of man we're dealing with. And if you don't know who Sneako is, he became influential during the Red Pill movement due to his connections with Andrew Tate. He pretty much mimicked the guy for a year until he started building his own popularity. And then he started joining the far right spheres of the movement. He worked on the Ye campaign with Nick Fuentes. Those two became friends. He befriended Myron Gaines, and then he pretty much turned his back on everybody. Turned his back on everybody, and now all of his former friends hate the guy, despise him, because he's clearly pushing anti American interests because of his performative Islamic nature. And a big, big story came out the other day due to his interview with a man who is running for Congress. Many of you, I'm sure, have heard of him, Dan Blazarian. I can't stand Dan Blazarian. He claims to be the one guy in the far right who is actually doing something, the guy who's actually going to get into Congress and make change. For one, this guy is not winning. I believe he's polling around 2 to 3%. 2 to 3%. He's running a terrible campaign. He's not boosting his public image in any way. This guy sucks at politics. And quite frankly, he's really dumb and against what the far right actually stands for. He's never going to get legitimate far right support. Dan Bilzerian represents the dangers when you allow Israel to cloud your entire judgment of the world. Like, are they an issue? Of course. Is one of the major issues in America, do I say this? Tiny hat influence. Absolutely. That is a major, major issue in this country. But it's not the only one. So on this interview, you have Sneako and Dan talking about the major thing that came up was the Citizen Vigilante movie. I don't know if any of you saw it. I must admit, I have no interest in watching it. Definitely a Jewish propaganda piece. But their whole point was that it's being pushed as Jewish propaganda to shift the blame from Jews to Muslims. But here's the thing. Both of them can be an issue simultaneously. Guess what? We don't have one enemy as Christians. It is all cultures which come into our nation state and disintegrate our culture that are legitimate problems in our country. And that's what you have to understand. If you want to be part of the far right, you cannot just be anti-Israel or you turn out like Zoran Memdani. You start supporting guys like that. No, you actually have to have some kind of vested interest in protecting American interests. Look, say what you want, but I don't want to live in a Muslim state. And this is something that Sneako is very, very openly promoting. The other day, a major clip came out where he's in New York and he's surrounded by Muslims and they're waving their Arab flags. And he yells, "Welcome to the Islamic Republic of New Yorkistan. Court this motherfucker!" And it's beautiful because everybody's calling for the same thing because everyone's like, no, we don't actually want to live in this fucking Islamic country. He's saying Islam will be in every household across America. Yeah, get out of my country, you fucking snake. You claimed to be part of the far right movement, but you're promoting Islam in every household? No, I'm sorry. I love Christianity. I am a true believer of the one true God, Jesus Christ, and that is what I fully understand America to be built upon. It was said that the Constitution would only function under a Christian and moral people. Well, guess what? It doesn't work when you bring in all these foreigners who promote Islam. And look, you can say, hey, Sneako, he was born here. Yeah, well, I don't give a shit. Get him out of here, to be honest. I don't care if he's a birthright U.S. citizen. I still want him gone because anybody who declares that New York is the Islamic Republic of New Yorkistan, you are a clear traitor to this nation. You have committed treason against the people, and you deserve to be kicked out of this nation. If you love Islam so much, go move to Iran, move to Syria, go move to any of these Islamic nations. I don't give a shit. Go check out Afghanistan and live under Sharia law, where you can fuck as many goats as you like. Because I understand that's all you have an interest in doing. That's why you want to bring Islam over here. You want, what? Little girl wives? That's fucking disgusting. I'm sorry, I don't want to live in a country where it's promoted and acceptable to marry 5-year-old girls. I happen to find that to be despicable behavior. Sorry, Sneako. I hate to tell you, but I think that's despicable. I don't want to live in a country where if you criticize this prophet Muhammad who married, what was she, 3? Yeah, I think she might have been 9. She might have been 9. But married a little girl. You can't criticize him or you're beheaded. Yeah. Keep those people as far away from me as fucking possible. That's my interest, protecting American nationalism, protecting American culture. And he's crying about how everybody's attacking him. His last video was called "The Matrix is attacking me." The Matrix, the Matrix. It's not the Matrix. People who don't like goat fuckers. That's what we are opposed to. So you can't go out and cry, oh, Elon Musk and Alex Jones, they're calling for my deportation. Yeah, because you essentially declared war against the United States, declared war against New York. Maybe not a legitimate, invasion type of conflict, but it's still an invasion because you're calling for the disintegration of our culture in favor of a foreign people who do not represent American exceptionalism. And on this show, he talks about. Oh, excuse me, I'm getting my shows mixed up. Not the Dan Blazarian show. He also had a debate the other day with Myron and Riyadh, and he declared that the only reason that the first world can exist is if a third world exists. That for the first world to prosper, the third world must be put down. No, Sneako. The reason that the first world is superior to the third world is because the people residing in that created those beautiful first world nations and the cultures they cultivated based off of their moral systems. And the reason that all of your nations, all the nations you support, are third world is because they are made up by a people who never came to a good moral standing and instead promote degeneracy, who promote bestiality, who promote child child marriages. Yeah, that's the real issue we have. How do you feel about the USA losing to Belgium? It's fucking tragic, man. It was tragic. Unfortunately, I didn't watch the game because I have this show to run. I was running it last night during it. America forever. Belgium cheated or something. We have bigger buildings. Everything is cooler in the United States. Hey, sure, you scored more goals than us, but how many guns do you have? Yeah, get fucked. How many how many fighter jets do you have? How many carriers do you have? None. That's what I fucking thought. Get fucked, Belgium. How do you feel about New York's mayor? Mamdani is a joke. Mamdani is destroying New York. And I cannot wait for this man to be out of office. And despite the claims that he's growing in popularity, sure he's growing in national popularity. He's not even above a 50% approval rate in New York. So hopefully he gets casted out, but I doubt it as our nation continues to move further to these extremists on the left wing due to their anti-Israel stances. And that's the danger of people like Sneako who can't see the difference between the right wing and left wing anti-Israeli talks. He doesn't understand it. This is another point he actually made. He was saying that we must transcend the left and the right. And that this is not a left first right. This is a people versus Israel or some bullshit like that. It's like, well, no, we can't transcend that because we fundamentally represent different things. One side wishes to preserve American culture, while the opposite side is completely opposed to American exceptionalism. You can't transcend left and right because they fundamentally represent different things in the culture. This isn't just us versus Israel. This is us against those who are against our nation. Transcend sounds new age and gay. Everything about guys who say this shit, they're all fake and gay. Everything is fake and gay, and you will understand politics when you realize that everything is fake and gay. That is everything about the political system. So yeah. Amazing point there. It's all fake and gay. Remember, fake and gay. But before I get too distracted, back to what I was saying about Sneako. So he's going around crying about the Matrix attacking him because people are calling for his deportation. It's like, well, yeah. When you go against American culture, people don't want you in America. Go live under Sharia law. I don't want that here. I think Islam is a terrible culture. It's bad for the nations. It's not good. Look at all of the Islamic nations around the world and find me one exceptional country. You can't. Every exceptional nation in the world was built upon Christian ideals. Every nation with a good moral framework Well, all of that came from Christianity. Whether you're a religious man or not living in this country, all of your moral systems were derived from the Christians who came before you, the Christian heritage which you possess. And that's why you see such a difference. A better people with a better moral system in these better nations. That's the difference between the first world and the third world. The difference between the right and the left is the desire to uphold what made our country so great versus the desire to commit suicidal liberalism. You just can't transcend. You can't transcend this. It's not a legitimate choice. I would love to see Sneako live in Pakistan and then come back in a year and tell us who it is, how it was. He's such a snake, he would pretend that it was beautiful and amazing. That's the type of guy this is. I feel like I need to sneeze. Ugh. Oh man. Oh, that's distracting. Oh man. These damn fleshy bodies. But yeah, he's such a snake, he would pretend that it was a beautiful living system and everything was so much better and everything was so much greater. And that just gets back to the point I was making about Sneako and Dan Blazarian. It's a complete misunderstanding of the culture that we're trying to protect. I mean, while they're talking about this anti-Islamic propaganda, Dan Blazarian makes the point, well, look at how all of these countries have so many more issues than the Islamic ones, and he brings up like the theft rates and such like that. Well, who's committing those different crimes in the Christian nations? It's not the white Christians. Like, come on. Come on, it's not the white Christians. We're not the ones committing atrocities in our countries. No. No. It's it's the immigrants, it's the foreigners, it's those who don't take up with our customs. It's a complete misunderstanding. That's why Dan Blazarian is a terrible choice for office. They are a bad look for the far right. And when he's talking about this transcension idea, it's hilarious because Myron keeps pushing at him and he's like, well, you support Tucker, you support Candace, you support these people. They would all tell you they're still on the right wing. And he's like, no, no, they've transcended. They've transcended into above the right and left wings. Well, no, they probably haven't. Tucker Carlson, to this day, is a firm supporter of J.D. Vance in office. He is a firm, committed supporter to J.D. Vance in office. You're telling me he's transcended? He's supporting the guy who is one of the most mainstream Republicans, a clear choice for 2028 at the moment. The guy who is completely backed by Peter Thiel, and that's because Tucker is supported by Peter Thiel. But Sneako's too retarded. He's too retarded to understand this. He can't pick up on any of the nuances in politics. He just goes with whatever's going on. And the guy's a pussy. Everything he does reveals a snake-like nature. I mean, let's look at everything's going on in the World Cup. Egypt loses to Argentina, and he's fucking crying. I don't know if you guys saw this. The guy started crying. It's like, how did you become a major political influence? Superheroes are neo-pagan. I'd agree, but Batman's awesome. Batman and Spider-Man are fucking awesome. This Batman or Superman? Fucking Batman all day. I mean, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. Hell yeah, give me Batman, baby. That's my go. Yeah, I mean, you could call superheroes neo-pagan, but on the bright side, to an extent, they still represent the stories that we need in society. Every culture has their stories. You look at the Greeks, and they have Achilles. They have these great heroes, and those heroes motivate people to be better men. You can watch Spider-Man and feel motivated. You can feel motivated to go on and be something more, to put morality first, to get back every time you get pushed down. When bad shit happens to you, you stand back up and you never back down, even though you may be weaker. You win through your toughness, and through your dignity, and through your morality. That's what a good superhero represents. Batman represents something terrible happening in your childhood, and you have every right to become a villain, and you still go on to help people, to save people. It's all about creating a good moral framework. So, well, sure. Much of the superhero thing, it got co-opted by liberals. I still think I still think there's power in these stories. Learning about saints and their struggles is the Christian version of watching Marvel. I mean, yeah, for sure. The saints are great stories too. It's good to have multiple forms of these different topics. It's good to have all of this. It's good to have heroes. Some fictional, some real. They still represent something powerful. So, saints are great. You should learn from the saints. That's something amazing about Catholicism is the honoring of the saints and the Catholic heroes. In the same way, it is good to have good moral fictional heroes who can inspire us to be better. So, while I understand the idea that superheroes are used to spread and circus the masses, I think if you have a proper understanding of it and a proper understanding of what they should represent to you and you don't allow it to cloud your judgment, which unfortunately for many it has, I still think it's great. Who is your favorite saint? Man, I don't know if I know saint lore like that. I don't know if I have a good answer for you. I'm gonna be totally honest. I'm a Lutheran. There's not like Lutheran saints. It's unfortunate. Um, it sucks. I only know like the basic answers. Like Joan of Arc is badass. I love Joan of Arc. She's awesome. But yeah, yeah. No, I don't know Saint lore like that. We'll have to do another episode or something, and I'll do another collab with you, and you can give me give me some saints to look into. I'd love to learn more about them. Oh yeah, yeah. I was trying to go not use the New Testament saints. Um, I was trying to find something deeper than that. But if we're using them, it would absolutely be Paul. Paul's my guy. Paul is my favorite saint for sure, without a doubt. If we're going back to the New Testament, yeah. Look into Saffron Rose. I absolutely will. I think I've heard the name. I'll look into it. I will absolutely look into it. But to answer your question, Paul. Paul is the guy. He's awesome. Great story. I love the story of being so condemned and being literally a killer of Christians and still finding forgiveness and pushing back against that is wrong, what is wrong. So that I find a lot of inspiration in Paul. I've gone incredibly, incredibly off subject now. Yeah. So yeah, that's my answer to those questions. But yeah, yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna start to wrap this up here, but yeah, we got Sneako fake crying. Islamic nations losing. It's like hell yeah, love to see it. Allah can't save your teams, can he? Yeah. Ha. Oh, he's such a clown. He is such a clown. And Dan Blazarian, you guys should all watch that interview. It tells you by his own words, he tells you exactly why he's not a legitimate part of the far right. Dan Blazarian will never make it because he doesn't understand the construct of protecting your nation against all forces and that there's more issues going on other than Israel. And when you stop understanding that, and I tell you guys, I think almost every single episode I have at some point where I go on a rant where I'm saying we can ally with these leftists who are anti Israel because they will co opt your country in the same way that the Israeli interests have. It is identical in its nature. It's identical. They both co opt our nation. In fact, they are used by Israel and Zionist interests to co opt our nation. So you can't ally with these people because you end up like Sneako, where you can't find a line in anything and you lose all moral standing. Oh, like you guys pointed out earlier, he's okay with he's okay with what polygamy, bestiality, but he can't touch pork. Yeah, it's a joke. Check out Saint Gabriel. Yeah, I absolutely will. Earned alive in the USR. Yeah, yeah, I'm actually familiar with him. He's badass as fuck. Love the guy. I feel like I shouldn't say. I feel like I shouldn't cuss when talking about a saint. Apologies for that. Forgive me, but yeah, he's awesome. The world hate Christ on the far left and the far right. The the world hate Christ on the far left and the far right. I don't know if I totally understand what you're saying. I'm certainly far right. I would say a true far right movement is Christian nationalism. World hates on Christ. I don't know if I totally understand what you're saying, but if I do, you're certainly correct. There's a lot. The far left completely hates Christ, and that's what makes them immoral, which is what makes it so we can't ally with them. Israel hates Christ, which is what makes them immoral and what makes us not able to ally with them. The Islamists, who also hate Israel and hate the far left, guess what? They hate Christ, so we can't ally with them. That's what makes a Christian nationalist movement the only movement that we can legitimately be a part of. So, yeah, it's I mean that some people on the far left and the far right hate Christ. Yeah, I mean, my pushback there would be that anybody truly on the far right that comes from a place of loving Christ. You're certainly right. There are people everywhere that hate him. But that's a misunderstanding of the movement. In my opinion, the true far right is the Christian nationalist movement in America. That's what the far right is. But yeah. Appreciate you for checking out the show. You have a good one. On that note, absolutely, we are going to start. I know I just said this, but we're going to start wrapping this up. So, like I was saying, the Iran war, it's back. It's fully fledged again. It's bad. It's bad. It seems incredibly unlikely that any peace will be made anytime soon. The strikes will continue. We are going to continue bombing the shit out of them. They are going to continue hitting tankers. Don't be surprised if you see another Iranian strike against U.S. military bases and complexes across the Middle East in the coming days. Be on lookout for that. Likely over the course of tonight. I highly expect that. Sneako, he's a clown. He completely showed that to the world, and now he wants to cry about it when people say they don't want him here. Well, don't don't have a hate of Christianity, and maybe we'd like you. Has it always been to has it always been to where it's really hard to ally with non-Christian nations? Absolutely. Absolutely. It is you can ally with non-Christian nations because they have a different moral makeup than us. It's not a legitimate how can you ally with those who do not have the same morality? All Christian morality comes from God because God and morality are intertwined. You cannot have one without the other. They are the same. God is moral. Morality is God. So, if you have a nation which is not of a Christian majority, you cannot ally with each other because you don't have the same moral systems. You can work together, you can find similar interests, but you cannot be true allies because your morality is not the same. But I am finally going to wrap it up there. Thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate the support. I'm going to, yeah, like I've been saying, I'm wrapping it up now. But thank you all for watching. Again, I'll be back tomorrow night, 8 p.m. as always, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So thank you so much. Y'all have a blessed rest of your night. So long. Peace out. And God bless y'all.